Hello. I thought I would share this week, my week. And honestly, it was one of those weeks that you kind of wonder why you live in the Upper Peninsula. And I kind of had to go out and force myself to do something other than sit in the house. We went on a weekly supply run, and it hit me that it had been a while since I had been to Kitch-iti-Kipi, which is a wonderful, possibly unappreciated, well, no, actually I think a lot of people appreciate it, but it's one of those things that I've started to realize I take for granted where I live a lot of times. And so I thought I would share it a little bit with you. First we'll go along on the drive, which as you can see, there was a little snow. We got a little bit of snow. All right, we got about a foot of snow. And it was unexpected. The weatherman, when I checked the weather report, said that we were supposed to get a trace to possibly 2 inches, and I think we got about a foot of snow, which is not unexpected for where I live, but it was not really appreciated either. But yeah, it it definitely made for a little bit of a damper on my week. But like I said, I decided when we went out and we went to the store that maybe I should take the time to appreciate the beauty of winter, because it is a beautiful thing, and to stop and actually think about where I live. I was looking up some interesting facts again about the Upper Peninsula, and up until the 1920s, 90% of the copper in the United States came from the Upper Peninsula. And I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of the copper. I think most of it comes from out west now, if it is domestically produced at all. And then I stopped to think that honestly, the place that we were headed, Kitch-iti-Kipi, which is also known as the Big Spring, it was named Kitch-iti-Kipi by the native Algonquin-speaking tribes of Ojibwa Indians that live and, well, were the natives up here, and still there are a lot of tribes up here. And I don't know, I was thinking about that, so I started looking up some of the history. Like, there are copper mines, or evidence of copper mining, in the Upper Peninsula that they think are about 10,000 years ago. People were actually mining copper in the Upper Peninsula, and that's pretty darn amazing. So I thought that was kind of neat. But like I said, we were actually headed, after we stopped at the grocery store and did all of those boring things that you're supposed to do, we went to Kitch-iti-Kipi, which is in Palms Book State Park. It is Michigan's largest freshwater spring, and it's kind of amazing. We should be there any minute now on the video, as I just sit here and babble more facts at you. But the name Kitch-iti-Kipi means big cold spring in Ojibwa. It's also been called just Big Spring by a lot of people, or the Mirror of Heaven, which on a sunny day, which it was not a sunny day when we went, you can definitely see why it got the name Mirror of Heaven. And it was bought by John Belair in 1926, I think, is when the state of Michigan officially got the spring. But he bought the spring, John Belair, under the condition that it would always be a state park because he had fallen so in love with it, even though when he saw it, it was basically just a dump site from the logging industry. They were just kind of dumping everything there, but there was something about it that caught his attention and made him stop and preserve it for all of us. I've been going to the Big Spring pretty much since childbirth. I mean, I've been coming to the Upper Peninsula my entire life, and the Big Spring's always been a part of it. And it's been interesting to watch it change, but it's been more interesting to see how much it stays the same. So, it is a cold water spring. It is 300 feet by 175 feet. So 300 feet long, 175 feet wide, and it's about 45 feet deep. And what's amazing about it is that the springs that you see bubbling up at the bottom, they pump out water at 10,000 gallons per minute. And what's even more amazing is no one actually knows where the water is coming from. I mean, obviously it's coming from an aquifer somewhere, and for a long time they thought maybe it was coming from Lake Superior, but now they aren't quite so sure. So, thought that was pretty interesting. Also, 10,000 gallons a minute is an insane amount of water, and it's one of the reasons why Kitch-iti-Kipi, I think it's only frozen over completely once or twice in my lifetime, because with that amount of water, you just don't freeze over. And as you can see, the local ducks appreciate the fact that the water doesn't freeze over. It's pretty darn cool. And along with the ducks that appreciate it, the lake is home to, and unfortunately, no, you can't fish here, but the lake is home to lake, brown, and brook trout that get incredibly big because they aren't going to be fished. The trees that you see around the spring tend to be tamaracks and cedars. Tamaracks are really interesting because they are a deciduous conifer, and that means that they actually lose a lot of their needles, which is really cool. It's a lot of fun to come here in the fall because just like a deciduous tree, the tamaracks change colors and they turn this brilliant yellow, which is really, really neat. So yeah, but I thought that they looked pretty darn spectacular coated in all the snow, honestly. The other cool thing about Kitchi is the raft that you go across on has always been human powered. Those cables that you see are what hauls the raft across. The raft has a viewing port in the middle so that you can look down and look into the spring, or you can just hang off the edge and look off, which is usually what I do. It's a neat little trip. It's a lot of fun to come in the summer because the gift shop also is an ice cream store, and hey, ice cream's always kind of fun. But yeah, it's it was a much needed break to come out here and just really stop and appreciate the beauty of where I live. It's something I don't think I do often enough. But now I think we're just going to take a little ride on the raft and appreciate as much as we can. Unfortunately, with the day being so gray, it wasn't as easy to get shots down into the water, which is absolutely crystal clear. In fact, I remember as a kid, you could look down and see a quarter on the bottom, and you could tell if it was heads or tails. You still can, but it's a little easier to do when the sun's actually out. I remember also as a kid, I always wanted to go fishing in this spring, but like I said, can't do that. Now, if you look down at the bottom right now, you can actually see the spring kind of boiling. Again, it possibly wasn't the best day to go, but at the same time, it was the best day to go. It was a much needed break from the routine, and it's something I need to remember to do a little bit more often. Maybe one of these days I'll actually get out with the camera and see if I can get footage of a frozen waterfall, which is another thing that happens up here. You don't think that a waterfall could freeze, but it can. But yeah, there's one of the springs that is pushing that 10,000 gallons per minute. That is such an insane rate of water. Ducks don't seem to mind it though, and neither do those big old fish. It's funny because in the summertime you see people in boats just at the mouth of the river that comes off the spring and goes over to Indian Lake. And they're always hoping that some of these fish will come and swim out and bite on their hook. I don't know how often the fish ever actually leave the spring though. But yeah, if you are ever in the Upper Peninsula, this is a fantastic place to stop and visit. And I am lucky enough to have been out here hundreds of times. But each time feels new. And each time you see something new. I still kind of want to catch one of those fish. I don't even eat fish. They just look like they would be a lot of fun to catch. Also, it's kind of wild if you stop and think about the fact that those fish are probably about 20 feet down from the top of the water where you're looking at them right there. Because as I said, the spring itself is 45 feet deep and you can see everything down there on the bottom. Anyway, this trip out to Kitch-iti-Kipi did exactly what I needed it to do, and it reminded me just how lucky I am to live where I do. And even if sometimes winter gets me down, it's okay. All I have to do is step outside, look up at the trees, and I can usually get a smile. So, as always, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I hope you have a fantastic week. And, yeah, I'm just going to let this play out, and I will talk to you later.